Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Rest is Lean, your regular podcast all about all things lean, continuous improvement, operational excellence, leadership, and more. And as always, joined by my rambling buddies, and we've got Alan Lothian,
I'll
and
do.
say hi, Al. Yeah, and over there we've got Russell. Say hi, Russell.
Hello.
We've got Russell Watkins as well. So, Al, what you been up to?
Oh, where do I start? Well, yeah, after our last one, I told you about my marvelous trip over to New York. I've actually just
Yes.
recently come back from Krakow in Poland, would you believe?
Crikey, you're all
And
over the
I
place.
know, and what a fabulous place it is. And this
Yeah.
one was purely pleasure this time. Thoroughly
Mm.
enjoyed that. Usual things in terms of lean clients, but also I've just been partnering up recently with an old friend of mine who was my old FD, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
in a previous life. And he's been supporting us with some finance for non-financial manager training,
Oh, yeah.
which was incredibly interesting. So he did a couple of sessions with a company over in Oxford.
But I still maintain that. So my first degree is in finance, and I still maintain that the best move I made, because I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to leave home, and so I did an accounting and finance degree because I thought it's businessy. You can always make a living and cover your
Yeah, yeah.
bills out of that. Um, Best grounding I had in terms of understand linking whatever we do to need and understanding the impact.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
But geez, it was boring. I got a 2-1. Never understood double entry bookkeeping, but I was good on this silvery tongue stuff.
So, what have you been up to, Russ?
Bits and bobs, lots of traveling, and being having my eyes diverted by a couple of things in the newspaper.
Mm.
One about somebody, a sports journalist who spent some time on the Gemba being a mascot at Huddersfield Town Football Club,
Oh, wow.
which has a great Gemba lesson in that I'll tell you about if you're interested.
Well, I don't think we can allow you to move on because now I've
So,
got a picture of somebody dressed in an owl suit or something,
well,
spying in changing rooms, which it could be many movies.
Well, it got me thinking about the evergreen benefits of going to Gemba, and particularly in terms of leaders of businesses spending some time on the Gemba to understand, well, walk in somebody else's shoes.
Mhm.
And so he was a mascot for a couple of days, and he wrote an article about the 17 things that struck him about being a mascot. Some of
Right.
them surprising, some of them not. What do you think the two biggest challenges were for him of being a mascot at a football club on match day?
Verbal abuse.
No, he said everybody was smiley. It even cheered up parents and groups of lads. Everyone loved it.
Um, Not being able to actually see the game,
Well, that got a
Or see where he was
mention.
going.
depending on your suit.
Yeah.
Well, suit is the first one. So he said the biggest issue that he thought initially was how hot it is in the suit.
Yeah.
It's hotter than the surface of the sun with a plastic clamp on your face. And imagine you've got an August fixture. And he said there's very little air, even in a miserable November day, and sweat's running down your forehead and into your eyes. Now, it's useful for a football club marketing manager to understand that when they are moaning about the mascot not being lively enough. But but the thing that really struck me was in point 11. He said, "I lied about the heat. The hardest thing is the pain in your leg muscles, because the mascot is so big and children are so small. You're forever squatting down to take
Ah,
photos with
Yeah.
children." He said, so it takes, if each photo takes 10 seconds, he reckons he was holding squats for 30 to 35 minutes in that day as like some kind of torture position. Um, so 150 squats across the day for photos. Now, it's a light-hearted example, but it just reinforces for me we have to empathy really matters, particularly the more senior people get and the more distance they
yeah.
get from their gembas.
What
And
what
if you
um
lose,
what creature was of interest?
well, I've got the article here. He was a dog. He was Tilly the Terrier. If you are, I guess it reminded me of it's so easy for us to judge without walking in shoes. So
Mm.
go to Gemba, kids. That's what
Mhm.
Santa wants.
Well, on that note, when you talk about Santa, think about Santa when he goes to visit all those places, particularly around this time of year, and the amount of sitting down he does, especially with children, talking about what they want for Christmas and what they're hoping to get for Christmas.
Yeah.
Having regular exercise, otherwise DVT may set in. There you go.
Which is, as we know, why Santa wears elastic stockings.
You've been to Gemba then?
Al, it's probably being Santa. Being Santa is probably a good lesson in managing expectations. Although he's not got to be there for Christmas morning, is he? So he
No,
can say whatever he likes.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
John's Christmas list. I'm guessing can I have another shirt with massive pockets?
Oh, jealousy is a terrible, terrible thing, isn't it? So I guess my work-related adventures highlights have been, oh, there's a word up on the screen board behind me.
Clarity.
Clarity. Trying to get some. No, been developing some thoughts on clarity and conciseness for leaders. That's been quite interesting to explore.
Speak on it, John.
Say again.
Speak on it.
Speak upon it. Okay. So, clarity and conciseness is a key skill for leaders and one which many of them lack. In fact, an awful lot of people, as they climb the ladder, let's say, start to lose clarity. They also start to lose conciseness. It's almost as if their language, they're trying to live up to an expectation they've got
That's true.
of how people communicate. So they start to add in phrases like shake the tree, envelope, dimensions. Uh, they stop speaking English and they start speaking in terms which they think are what is expected of their role. They lose
Cool.
clarity. They stop telling people what they need to hear. They also get more verbose and it all rolls on. So again, I think it's a go to Gemba or remember what it's like to be on the other side situation where you want to hear what's happening, why is it happening, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And if you're able to get those things, that's the communication was excellent. But yeah, clarity and conciseness, I think, is probably a very underrated leadership skill.
I tend to agree, and especially in the age of TED Talks and podcasts
Mm,
where we put a premium on the ability to be silver-tongued
yeah,
and to talk a good game. We essentially we celebrate talking a good game.
yeah. I mean,
It,
we can definitely be accused of that ourselves.
yeah,
We're playing around on our podcast talking about a very simple subject and philosophizing about the finer points
yeah.
and Japanese expressions and all the rest of it. I think I still got enough grounding to believe if I was leading a team, my language would be relatively clarity full and concise. But it wouldn't hold a candle to somebody who is newly promoted from the shop who's just going to tell people what they need to know.
Yeah. Quite
Um,
right. And was this spurred on? I'm walking past the creation of the word clarityful, by the way. But is this spurred on by something that's happened to you, or is it just come out of the ether?
no, I was developing some materials that are based around the idea of leadership, and
Someone's given them a PO, Ross.
it's it's one of the topics that I don't think has been explored enough.
Yeah,
So you can
You,
teach
you,
people they need to do a daily briefing and how to lay out their board,
yeah.
and you can teach them about following rules of grievance and discipline and all the rest of it.
It's
But who talks to you about keep it simple?
yeah. Well, it's funny that
Stop getting elaborate. Don't try and impress
yeah.
because it's not going to help with the goal, the end results, the measures.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just something that's come out of exploring that area at the moment. So I've been doing a lot on that.
It's a really good one, that John. I mean, in all seriousness, if you think in terms of the communication side, I suppose we could add the I suppose the lean side to it is you need to know your audience.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Because effectively, good communication, what deems it to be good is the audience, because the audience are effectively your customer. So the
Mm,
value proposition is how valuable your communication style is if you're
mm,
meeting the customer requirements, i.e. the audience. So
yeah.
for example, put it in such a way, if you're doing, say, a monthly state of the nation, as we used to as I used to call them, you want to put it in such a way that the vast majority of people are going to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some of the things that we've spoken about before, visual management, keep it visual, keep it simple.
Mm.
People know the basic things. Try and use pictures or visual prompts as opposed to um, copious amounts of words.
Mm.
Mm.
That,
It's just
that
that
helps.
choosing the right language thing for some audiences, saying that our quarter 2 delivery windows are going to be really tight and expectations of customers are challenging. And
Mhm.
then for the other audience, you want to say it's got to be out a week on Tuesday or we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
But you need to,
And
but
that's a skill.
here's,
Mhm.
but oh, it's a skill, but to develop that skill, you need to have feedback. Yeah.
Yes.
So the question is, how do you get feedback? It's like a two-level thing, two examples connected. A team leader doing a team brief. Um, you can train them to keep it simple and to communicate only the right things,
Mhm.
and to communicate clearly. Here's the thing though, how do they know they've communicated clearly? If we don't include in team leader training of a start of shift huddle, you get confirmation of the main
Yeah.
points during it. You
Right.
seek that confirmation in ways that you can then say, oh, hang on, they haven't grasped it. And it's not their fault, by the way.
Yeah.
If they haven't grasped it, I haven't done it. And that's partially because at 6 a.m. in the morning, everybody's still rubbing sleep out of their eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
then you have the manager watching that brief who then gives feedback. And the value added for somebody in a management position is more is more. I reckon less is more is the toughest sell in our game. Less is more. So when somebody gives feedback, a manager, and they've given 13 points of feedback to a nervous team leader,
Mm.
my question to them afterwards is, can you go back in 2 hours' time and ask them which of the 13 they can remember? Don't worry about the order.
Yeah.
Just which of
Yeah.
the 13 they can remember.
Yeah.
Go on,
They
John.
all I'll remember is the first, the last, and the one that hurt. Primacy,
Yeah,
recency,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
the stuff
Le
that hurt
less
them.
is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that was it. I think they had this. We had this in the IF days. I remember. It was tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Mhm. Mm.
Because there's not, there's an opportunity in that final bit to gain some feedback. Also, you can sense a little bit by body language.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
engaged the
Yeah,
people visually. Use
Yeah.
your eye. You've probably said it yourself, John, with some of the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Is if you can see the audience, the visual prompts will help you whether they're taking it in or not.
Yeah. Which kind of
A
rolls
help.
onto another interesting point within the same um, area, and that is, again, I don't think that leaders take on board the value of active listening. They pay lip service to that and say, "Oh yeah, you got to do that," but they're so determined to be good at transmit.
Hmm.
That's their job, they believe, that they forget active listening helps the person who's speaking to you and develops them. It's the way that you confirm whether your messages have actually broken through and people actually understand them. Um, it creates that sort of kinship between you and your team.
yeah.
If you're an active listener, people will gravitate towards you and they will tell you things. If you're not an active listener, in their perception, then you only get what you ask for, and only then some of it.
Mm.
Um, it's a very undervalued thing, and again, all linked to we become a leader, we learn skill A, skill B, skill C, and then transmit. And
Mhm.
the more elaborate, the better I'm getting at it, rather than no, 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 no. Strip it down, get better at doing it with less. and actually reduce it to the level that you can do even more of the listen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that John, that's a tremendous point. Funnily enough, that's where my thought had just gone. We'd spoken a lot about telling and not much about silence. So that example I gave about the team brief, the feedback starts with what do you think went well specifically, and in listening. In a minute, can you tell us in your view what active listening is?
Yeah.
After I tell you this quote that I saw the other day, and the quote was, "Learning begins with silence, and then listening comes next," which I really
Okay.
like because I had to take a minute to think about what's this. Okay, so the presupposition, the idea there is that to learn something, you gotta not be chirping and you got to be listening.
Mhm.
So before you can actively listen, you've got to not be chirping. And for someone like me who likes a chirp,
Yeah.
I need to be reminded to first of all shut up
Yeah.
and then listen.
Make a note, Al. We've got to remind him to shut up and listen. He said, like, this is going to be a favour, so we're all right now.
I was waiting for the visual prompt. That's what I was waiting for.
So yeah, active listening for you boys. What is it? How do you? I'm mindful that we can philosophize, and in terms of clarity and conciseness,
Yeah.
your theme, John. Practically, how can you actively listen? How do you go about it?
Well, it's in several parts, isn't it? There's physically, as in mechanics. Can you hear? Did you actually hear the words coming towards you or the sounds coming towards you? Part one. Part two, did you look like you were listening? Were you perceived as listening? Because that's valuable.
Mhm.
If you're not, even if you are listening, but you don't look like it or are perceived to be listening, you don't get sent all the information. So it's how you act, your body language, your affirmation noises. And again, I'm getting verbose now. And even stuff like leaning forward and asking for more, asking questions like you've just asked. Can you expand upon that? That's all good. It's all parts of active listening in showing that you are listening.
Right.
And body language can be extended to set pieces or tricks. So if somebody is talking to you and you want to demonstrate active listening, maybe you've got no problem understanding what they're telling you, agreeing what they're telling you, remembering what they're telling you, doesn't mean it's not a good idea to go, just hang on a sec, Russ.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll carry on because now you've gone, blimey,
Yeah. This
he's
matters to
listening.
me. Yeah, this matters to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you've got those two elements.
Mhm.
And then you've got listening, as in not just accepting the information and showing that you're accepting the information, is actually not rejecting Russell's ideas at hand,
Do
but
it.
putting yourself in the right place to go, okay, let
Mhm.
me absorb it all, what I'm being told. It's contrary to what I think. Why does Russell think that way?
Mhm.
Is it possible that he's right and I'm wrong? Is it possible they're both right? Actually, listening is the thinking about, it is the
Processing.
analyzing what you're receiving. And again, some people are very good at the transmit, they're very good at actually listening, they're very good at looking like they're really listening. But when they've finished listening, they didn't hear any of it.
Move on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, move on.
Mhm.
You've got to actually absorb this information so that you can get value from it and to act on the good stuff.
But I guess that's a habit you need to develop. And you mentioned a lot of useful things there, John, in terms of, does it make sense to me? Do I agree with it? Can
Mm.
both things be true? That kind of thing. Um, and I'm kind of demonstrating there. So that probably takes parts of a second, and it might feel like a long time, but it doesn't take very long. Is it, do you think it's useful to, excuse me, to paraphrase back as a habit, as in, if I understand you properly, you're saying X, Y, Z,
Yeah,
or
I
is
think
that just a trick?
I think that is it's a great example of a set piece, as it demonstrates listening, because you can't do it unless you heard the words and remember the words long enough to rephrase them into a question to confirm. So it's all great.
I think
And I
it's
think
one
it's
of
a
the
very
tricks.
useful tool from that point of view. But if it becomes your standard, I think people might also begin to believe that it is
A trick.
part of a trick
Yeah,
rather
but
than just a tool you use, which it should be.
yeah,
It's a valid tool. I very often ask questions because I don't understand what Alan is talking about.
mm,
And I think, he can't be that mad. So I ask a question.
he is.
So it's real.
And then you realise I am actually completely bonkers.
Yeah,
And yes, I would deploy it as well to help people talk to me. If somebody's really nervous talking to me, and it does happen now and again, I will definitely deploy a few paraphrased questions so that they know I'm egging them on basically to tell me more.
yeah,
This is great stuff. You're not putting me out by talking about this stuff. I'm actually actively interested.
yeah,
So sometimes it is a set piece. Sometimes it's literally the tool you need because you need to check understanding.
yeah.
And both of those are valid. But I wouldn't go deliver 1, 2, 3, listen to
No, no, no. I'm
paraphrase
thinking.
2, 3, because then you
Yeah,
lose all reality
yeah.
and integrity.
I think it probably matters to do that when somebody is passionate about something. They have knackered my machine.
Yeah.
I can't get them to stop stealing my tools.
Yeah.
You promised you do this, you management team, and you've let us down again. That I think when somebody's passionate and they are seeking being understood, that's probably useful, I guess. But
Mm.
you got me thinking about Mix-san, Toshiyuki Moroka, Alan I's fella, and I tend to I do. I wonder why I did it for a long time, but when he was listening to the interpreter to
Mm.
us, he would quite often close his eyes and tilt his head.
Yeah.
And and it's a Japanese thing, and I thought early doors, I thought he's bedding down here, cheeky git.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
taking away the senses. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Shut off
he
the
was
senses.
he was cutting off a sense to listen. So I misinterpreted that. There wasn't sufficient rapport to understand it.
Yes.
The other way back was he misinterpreted me because whenever he told me something that really interested me that I thought, hey, that's new, I'm gonna have to think about that,
Mm.
I would make a noise. And that noise was, hmm. Now, to me, that noise means that's gold. Really interested. I only found out after a few months that noise to him meant, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cultural difference
The cultural differences are
is
exactly.
is very interesting. I recognize that from Rio-san, my mentor, and a couple of times to the absolute bedwetting amusement of my colleagues at the time, I've said things like, Rio-san, I've got this really tricky problem with line balance, and I don't know which of the two main formulas to use. And you guys have met my
Hmm.
master, an absolute gentleman, relatively anglicised, I would say as well,
Yeah.
but very much a product of Japan.
Yeah.
And he would very often, as a piece of active listening that I appreciated, go, oh, hold on, hold on. And he would move over typically to a table and sit up on a table and then go. And I think, oh great, I'm getting undivided attention of Yoda here. This
Yeah.
this is going to be gold. So then I go off on my diatribe and start delivering all this great nonsense about the relative merits of what I'd done and how worried I was that I'd used the wrong formula. And he would close his eyes slowly and he would bow his head slowly. And he would hear me because different culture. He would hear me going from, yeah, no, I'd use this formula, and he'd hear me slowing down and pausing almost. Am I boring you? Is what my face and my voice is doing. At which point he would go,
Oh,
and then go again. And it took me forever to get used to this stuff.
Yeah.
Where no, he's showing respect.
Yeah.
He's dedicating a lot of his attention. But to my English ears and eyes, he really can't be asked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a difference in the active listening that you would deploy. Because I know if I did that, I said, I'll copy the guy I respect so much. I go and do that in West Bromwich when people are talking to me.
Get kicked to death.
They're not going to get it. And explaining it is not going to help either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good
match the culture.
There's a lot of really good things that you've both said there. When you asked the initial question about the active listening, it's actually really, really difficult. And you don't. The couple of things that you guys have said. I think there's a big difference between the word listening and the word hearing.
Yeah.
In other words, you hear the noise, but the listening shows that the sounds that have been made, you've processed, you've digested, and you understand what the noises that have come out. And you mentioned some really good ideas there, John, of how to reaffirm that with people, right? But when I say it isn't just about it isn't just about listening. It's all 5 senses that you have to use. If you think about it, to help you either affirm how well you're communicating, but also how well you're taking things in. And when you are trying to reaffirm it through, say, questions or whatever, Ross, you mentioned, do you paraphrase it? Probably in a way that's probably in a language that internally that you would understand best, but you're helping to understand that, are we on the same wavelength?
Yeah.
But you've then got to watch out for the response on how the initial person who has verbalized it has accepted your paraphrase, so to speak. And it's really, there's so many things that are going on. One of the additional things that makes it more difficult is you've got loads of shit going on in your day at the time. And it's very, very difficult when you're a leader to try and show that level of empathy, that sympathy, that almost show that you are listening. It is incredibly draining, I would say. Arguably, the more senior you are, to really sell that, to really show that you are listening and taking everything, because you have got 1,000,001 things going on in the back of your mind. And then also, you've got personal baggage as well. And that's floating around. That's the person who's speaking to you. You mentioned the example about the machine. They've knackered the machine up, Russ. Yeah. And you just might be, for example, not their team leader. You might be a more senior manager, but you've still got to show that respect. Without necessarily, and I've mentioned this before, what you don't want to necessarily want to fall into the trap of doing is providing the solution of how to deal with it, because then you're in danger of breaking the chains of command within the structure. The only other thing I would add to everything that John had mentioned is, I think particularly, say, I'm just thinking if you're chairing a meeting, is have a set of ground rules to create an environment that's best for active listening. So, for example, take a lot of the distractions away. Yeah. So, and a good example, like people who bring their blasted laptops to meetings. Okay. Put your laptops and if you bring them with you, fine. Okay. But they're down for this meeting.
How about
mobile phones on silent, and in your pocket, not on the table, face up when they flash up, because that's only going to distract anything that's going on.
I know, but and I'm with you, Al. And we are practitioners of a certain age. Some people, having been trained to do it in uni, they take notes on their laptop to learn. And that's a specific challenge, because they are legitimately doing that, because it's a way that they've been trained. The sapling has been formed into a tree doing that.
Yeah, that's a really important point, and that's absolutely fine. But I also know that as long as it's tempting, but I think that's still the exception rather than the rule.
Right.
And you can see, let's be honest, you can see straight away. Again, if you're watching the room, if you're chairing that meeting, you're watching the room, you know whether, to the experienced eye, you can sort of sense from the body language that they are in the zone.
I think again that forms part of maybe it's incorrectly named active listening.
Yeah, because it thinks it's just one sense, but it's not. Absolutely,
you're watching what's going on in the room, which is listening to the the people who are asking you questions. You're listening to the people who are going. You are listening to the guys who are going.
Yeah. You're not paid to be there as a court recorder, are you?
No, no.
But let gents, to bring it
It's a really good point.
But to bring it back to lean, and ambush you and myself now. So active listening. That's been the accidental topic of this podcast, as all podcasts have accidental topics.
All of our podcasts have an accidental topic, which is why we name them after we've done them.
That's right. So, why is active listening such an important skill for somebody doing a lean transformation? Give me one reason, one really compelling reason why.
Well, if you don't do the active listening thing, you're going to believe everything that you say, for a start. And you're going to be limited in the teamwork that you receive. So the extra ideas, the guidance, the recommendations, the John, you're making an arse of yourself. Feedback, unless you are good at active listening and its surrounding skills.
Yeah, I'm with you. And mine's
I
in
mean,
the same
you used the
ballpark.
expression a few times, Russ, but you tend to live in an echo chamber if you're not careful. And what you say is what you hear. So it must be right.
And can I extend on that one before we come to Al? It's adjacent to that, my one, and that's however smart you believe you are, and however smart you are, you can be the best ops director in the world. You are still only one brain and two eyes and two ears.
Yeah.
So the force multiplier, I'm pretty certain that there are deeply average ops directors out there who aren't particularly good at ops directing. They're okay, but they are extremely effective beyond people with brains the size of planets because they act as a curating conduit. I'm not being clear and concise now. They take lots of inputs from other people and then they filter them and they use other people's creativity and ideas. Go on, Al.
Yeah, well, just following on from that, then Russ, we were talking earlier before we came online, didn't we, about looking at it through different lenses. So you have, like, going back to your point about the operations director, they're going to look at it from one lens. But coming back to your earlier point about how do we bring this back to lean, is ultimately, if we're going to get the best out of our lean transformations, it's fundamentally about people. And if you're working with people on a day-by-day basis and they don't perceive you as being present at that moment in time and understanding their pain, understanding that problem at that point in time, and being able to articulate that back to them so that you truly understand, the chances of getting them on board longer term is going to be far less. That's the one thing I would say.
Superb, Al. Hang on, I'm just going to write that down.
I forgot what I said now.
Right, thanks very much, folks. If you are interested in what we tend to ramble about, then please get involved. Join the comments area below the video if you're watching on YouTube, if you're following along on the various other podcast platforms available out there. Then, Russell, where should they email?
It is Kaizen. Isn't that why take 2 steps forward when you can take 1 at gmail.com?
There's another promotional statement there from Russell. Or Alan, always listen to Alan. That's one of my favourite phrases. Alan, where should people of a more rational nature send their questions and comments?
The proper one is therestislean@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Righto, folks. We'll see you again real soon.
See you guys. Stay safe.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.